in England at the time was lead poisoning. And so people are just dropping like flies, left and right. And so, in fact, they were actually dying at such a rate that they couldn't keep up with building enough caskets. So oftentimes what they would do is that they would bury a body, have the service, and then about a month later, they would go back to that same grave, dig it back up, take the bones of the person up there, and they would take it and drop it in a graveyard, and then try to reuse the casket. Well, in doing this, they discovered that in about 1 out of every 25 of these caskets, I don't know how they came up with that specific number, but some historians say that 1 out of every 25 of these caskets, they discovered claw marks on the inside of the casket. I know, creepy, right? And you ask why? Why was that the case? Well, because lead poisoning led to a comatose state. So in other words, what would happen was they'd oftentimes bury people who were still very much alive, but they just looked and acted like they were dead. And so they came up with what I guess was kind of a somewhat ingenious solution to this, was that then they started, when they discovered this, they started to take every person that died and they would attach a rope, or a little string actually, to their finger, and then they would run the finger out of the casket up, through the ground and attach it to a little bell. And then there was a guy or a gal whose job was to sit there overnight, and anytime they heard the bell ring, they had to go take a shovel and go and dig up that casket. This is the term graveyard shift, and I think we can all agree, truly the scariest job ever, right? I don't know if I necessarily want that job. But listen, I share that with you because I wonder if there's some of you today, you feel like, you look at your family, you look at your situation, you feel a lot like Job right now. You feel buried because of sin. You feel buried because of grief. You feel buried because of addiction. You feel buried because of fear and anxiety. And I'm here to tell you that we have a God who works the graveyard shift. And listen, if you'll just have the courage to, rather than when the troubles come, and they will come, and when you fall and when you fail, and you'll fall and you'll fail, rather than falling away or falling apart, if you'll have the courage to choose to fall forward in faith, fall forward like Job chose to fall forward, it's amazing how our God is a God who will respond to it every time. He'll respond to it with a shovel in hand, ready to dig you up out of whatever the grief, whatever the pain, whatever the hurt is, whatever the addiction is. We have a God who works the graveyard shift. And I don't care what it is you're wrestling with. I don't care what it is, the weight and the impossibility you feel like is going on in your life. Listen, if God could take the brokenness in Job's life, the heartache in Job's life, and redeem it to create a message, to create a life of beauty and significance and purpose. Again, listen, don't tell me he can't do it in the life of your family, in the life of your situation, in the life of your circumstance. And so with every head bowed, every eye closed, that's why I want to pray for